Let's look at this more in detail, and to discuss this we have William Davison, who's a senior Ethiopia analyst at the International Crisis Group, which focuses on conflict prevention, good governance and inclusive politics. Welcome to the programme. We're hearing that the American embassy in Addis Ababa has now encouraged non-emergency staff to relocate back to the US. Is this a sign of things to come, would you say?
Yes, I think so. Those recent gains in eastern Amhara region by the Tigray forces, the taking control of two major cities, Dessie and Kombolcha. This is a further sign of what seems to be a fairly significant military advantage. There's no reason to think that they will necessarily march as quickly as possible to Addis Ababa. They might try and move east to control the Djibouti corridor, the main trade route. But ultimately, it does look like the war is coming to Addis Ababa. And that is why there is this rhetoric from the Prime Minister and the state of emergency and this type of action by the US Embassy.
And how strong is the Ethiopian army to stop this advance towards the capital?
Well, I think the issue is that the Tigray armed resistance forced the federal military out of Tigray region in June. And then the Tigray forces went on the offensive in July to overcome a federal blockade on the region, to reclaim territory and to remove future security threats to Tigray as they saw it. Since July, we've only seen really gains by the Tigray forces. There's been efforts to recruit more for the federal military and allied forces, buy hardware, but they seem to be in a certain amount of disarray. Undoubtedly, Addis Ababa is relatively well defended, as will this trade route be. But there is reason to think, indeed, the Prime Minister has basically said that the federal military itself is not able to withstand this advance, and that is why he's called for all-out mobilization.
And what exactly is the aim of the Tigray forces? What do they want?
They want to overcome the federal blockade on Tigray so that electricity services, telecom services, and banking services can be restored to the region, so that there is unhindered aid, access, and trade to the region. They also want to remove those security threats, and ultimately they want space probably to run a referendum on Tigray's independence.
And a year on from this fighting, how do you see this being resolved? We know there's a US envoy coming to have talks today with the government. Well,
at the moment, it looks like we have the prospect of more conflict. The Tigray leadership believe themselves to be ascendant, and there is no sign of the federal government backing down in the face of their demands, as we heard from your report. But I think ultimately what the US envoy and everyone needs to press for, including Ethiopian voices, is for at least some concessions to the Tigray demands, because otherwise they will continue this advance towards Addis Ababa eventually. And with all the sort of destabilizing consequences that will bring, including potentially attacks on Tigrayan civilians across Ethiopia because of their perceived support for the Tigray armed movement.
William Davison, great to have you on the programme and for breaking this all down for us from the International Crisis Group. Appreciate your analysis.